Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bull Take Podcast. I'm Austin Hill. With me, as always, is Austin Waiter. And today we are back talking NBA Finals action. We've had an eventful 3 games since the last time we talked. And then obviously a big blockbuster trade that's going to kind of off the radar, a move that we'll get into in a little bit. Not the first big trade we thought we were going to be breaking this offseason. And the finals aren't even done yet. And then finally, we'll close it out with our look at taking our top 5 college football dynasty teams down to a top 3. And I know the decision making is getting tough and difficult there, but more on that in just a moment. Let's start with game 3 of the NBA Finals. Look, this series comes back to Indianapolis. And look, morale's riding high for the Indiana Pacers. Just to put it, in the best of terms, they won game 1, and now you have your destiny out in front of you. You come into game 3, and it was the environment that we expected. It was a crazy environment, loud, and the Pacers took advantage of that, winning 116 to 107. You look at this game, this is the worst game Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had up to this point in the series. Only 24 points, which is crazy when you're talking about this guy that only 24 points is a bad game. But 9 for 20 shooting, 1 for 3, 4 assists. Look, the Pacers did everything they needed to. Not only did they make it tough for him to score in this game, they limited his ability to create as well. And I saw this video on TikTok. Shout out to the user, can't remember his name right away, but a big strategy that Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers used, which kind of was, I don't know, different in this game defensively against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Andrew Nembhard basically picked Shai Gilgeous-Alexander up for the entire floor, every possession, tried to deny him the ball. And then off the ball, when they try to set these off-ball screens to free up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Aaron Nembhard went from standing in front of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to defending him from the back, basically standing on his back, hands on his hips. And while it doesn't make a lot of sense, you had Halliburton or whoever was guarding the screener standing in the paint to take away the back cut. And now what's the screener going to do? There's nobody to screen because he's on the backside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander now, and he's almost impossible to screen. It confused the Thunder, and it confused Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There are many times that because of the way they threw hiccups and hitches in their plays with this different defensive scheme and this kind of backwards way of doing it, that it led to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander making a lot of mental mistakes in this game, as well as just keeping the ball out of his hands. This was a big swing right here. Indiana needed to win game 3. They needed to defend home court to keep momentum going, and they had the perfect game plan in limiting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and leading them to this victory.
It also helps out whenever, Benedict Mathurin decides to give you 27 points off the bench
Agreed.
and TJ McConnell gets what is ridiculous stat line. I mean, 10 points, 5 assists, 5 steals. I think 3 of those 5 steals came off of inbounds plays that led to easy points for the Pacers. Uh, like, and the defense, yeah, I know what you're referring to. I saw that clip as well. Playing from high, it's the right way to do it because it kind of eliminates the screen, really. There's
Yeah.
really no way for the screen to be useful at that point. But the big thing I will say, though, again, that helped the Pacers. Number one, like I said, Shai did not have a good night. Turnovers. The story that almost cost the Pacers game 1. Really, what cost them in the game, we'll probably talk about in a little bit. 6 turnovers from Shai, a career high in the playoffs. The Pacers got after him early. I mean, you saw from the tip, Nembhard had it pick up a foul on Shai within 2 seconds after the ball got tipped. So you can tell the mentality was there from the jump. And then it got close. I will say this. The second quarter and the fourth quarter won the Pacers this game because the first and third quarter, the Thunder outplayed them. But you score 40 points in the second quarter against the best defense in the NBA. And then you outscore the Thunder 32-18 in the fourth quarter. Not only that, with some great defensive possessions down the stretch, especially by Miles Turner. So a lot of key pieces helped out, great defensive strategies. And yeah, Pacers were up 2-1, and we thought have a chance at 3-1. But I think some people on the Thunder had other ideas for game 4.
Yeah, last thing I want to touch on here from game 3. Something that is a key story to kind of watch throughout this series after the first two games, it was like this. The bench points from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game one, bench didn't have a lot of contribution, and even though the starters had big numbers, big nights, nothing from that bench, and they lose. Game two, big points from Caruso, from Aaron Wiggins off the bench, really helped this team out. They win here in game three. That we can follow that same trend here. Only three guys off this OKC bench scored. None of them hit double figures. Hartenstein with four, Caruso with eight, and Isaiah Joe with six. So the scoring not there off the bench again in game three. But as you said, we get to game four and another close game here. But OKC, I think you know you have to win this game if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder. You lose both games in Indianapolis. And then the Pacers have three games to win one, and they'll get one more at home in this series. It wasn't the type of situation you wanted to be, and you could definitely tell they're motivated. Shea came out and had a much better game, offensively, 35 points, as well as, but zero assists, still limiting that playmaking from him, but 20 points from Caruso off the bench for the second time in this series. Jalen Williams with a 27-point game. Um, and on the other end of things, you see Halliburton, an 18-point game, but 7 for 15 and 1 for 7 from three. Just a lot of struggling field goal percentage wise for this team. Feels like you had some guys get up into bigger figures, but at the cost of the shooting percentage. And the big thing to me came down to the last couple possessions for the Indiana Pacers, two 3-point game with 2 minutes on the clock, and it was Halliburton firing up a three, Nembhard firing up a three, Miles Turner firing up a three, Pascal Siakam firing up a three. I felt like they had plenty of time to get in the paint and attack and tie the game or cut it to one. And instead, this team kind of rushed it, tried to hit that big shot, kind of what this team is known for, hitting those big clutch daggers. Instead of really getting in there and using their game, which is getting downhill, creating on the perimeter, finishing and getting the foul on the inside. I think that's what Halliburton and the rest of this crew has done so well this season. And to just kind of forego that and chunk threes for the last 2 minutes until it becomes insurmountable 7-point deficit. And you're just playing the foul game to try and keep the game alive. I think that kind of cost him here. Obviously, not the biggest part of this game, but I certainly think that if the 2 minutes had been managed a little bit better from the player's perspective, trying to find better shots, that maybe this game could have been a little bit closer, or even a Pacers win, because it feels like, this was back and forth, gut punch and gut punch, and then it just started to be a bunch of air balls for the Indiana Pacers.
This game was won in the last three minutes. I thought the Pacers and the Thunder had played a great game up to that point. Everyone had been good. Obi Toppin was huge off the bench. Alex Caruso, which when we get to it, I'll just want to add. I know whenever it comes down to Finals MVP, it'll probably be Shea or Jalen Williams. I want Alex Caruso to get some love for MVP if the Thunder do win it. This man is a 15 plus point per game scorer so far in these finals. If you would have told me that going to the finals, I would have told you, yeah, right. Because Alex Caruso's, that's not what he does. He's a great defender, good at getting the players going defensively and then leading to transition for other guys. But he's been a great scorer for them. And I can say the same for TJ McConnell on the Pacers. But 3 minutes ago, Pacers are up by 4. Tyrese hits that layup, makes it 103-99. And it feels like, maybe the Pacers will survive this one, go up 3-1, and then everything sets up for them. And then you have Shea, I had a Thunder fan tell me they felt like this was the first time Shea had shown up in the finals. I kind of disagree with that based on some of the stat lines. But bang, comes down, hits the three. Then they get the stop after the three, then gets the step back jumper to take the lead, and you're playing from in front the rest of the way. And the Pacers offense was horrible in these last 3 minutes. You pointed it out. My big thing is no one was looking to attack the paint, which is how many times I've said when Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers look to attack in the paint, that's where the offense is at its best. And they weren't able to do that against the Thunder team. It's the thing they've really struggled with most of the series against OKC. And that led to them taking some rough shots, some shots that I knew weren't going in the second they were shot. So it was hard to watch for the last 3 minutes. And just from the Pacer fan perspective, I'll tell you this, my buddy David, who I watched as a Thunder fan, he can confirm it. last 2 minutes, I kept on telling him last minute, I was like, you blew it. You blew a chance to go up 3-1 in this series and have control, and you're 1 win away. Now you have to go on the road and somehow win a game in OKC, which after last night, I really don't know, and then also win the game at home. So, yeah, the Pacers blew no sugarcoat, but Shea stepped up. That 0 assist thing, Austin, I looked it up. Last time Shea had 0 assists was in the bubble. So it's
Wow.
been a while since Shea has had 0 assists. But he stepped up late in the game in the clutch situations when the Thunder needed him to. And absolute credit to him. But the Pacers offense, yeah, it was hard to watch in that game.
And yeah, you talked about it just a second ago with Caruso, mentioning the scoring numbers, not what you expected. But look, in game four here, 5 steals, averaging 2.8 steals per game in this series right now, as well as averaging zero point 0.8 blocks per game, almost a whole block per game in this NBA Finals. So it's not just, doing the scoring, but he's still stepping up on that defensive end where you expect Alex Caruso to be a problem. Like you said, definitely a guy that probably won't get the nod, but deserves a little bit of credit when you look at this series and what he's contributed thus far. He's been everything that this team needed in a vet and a leader in the locker room. Exactly what they were hoping to get when they brought in Alex Caruso. Then we spin to this game five. And look, this was a tough situation to be in now with the Pacers. Kind of a gut punch, too. Really had a chance to go up 3-1. Probably should be up 3-1. And instead, it's a 2-2 series. You head back to OKC. You got to take one of these games in OKC. To me, this was the game that decided the series. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying, anything can still happen, especially with these Pacers. But to me, you really needed to win game five. That way you go back home with momentum, win game six, and the series is over. I just don't know if OKC can be beat in a game seven at home. I just don't know that it's going to happen. We're going to see. Obviously, game six still yet to be played. But with a 120-109 victory here back in Oklahoma City, look, the momentum was going. Tyrese Halliburton held scoreless in the first half, does not make a single field goal the entire game, finishes with 4 points in game five. But really, the big guy to step up in this game, Jalen Williams, with a 40-point game, 10 assists for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in a 31-point game, just cannot be contained. Caruso had his worst scoring performance of this entire finals with only 2 points. But he still contributed 4 steals and 1 block to the total. So even though he didn't have the same big time scoring game that he's had some of these games in this series, he has contributed big time. And you look at the bench, Aaron Wiggins, Casey Wallace, 14 and 11 points for both of them. Again, when you start to see this bench get into double figures and really help contribute, that's when you see this OKC team at its best. Not just limiting the first 5 guys out there, but you got to limit these first couple options off the bench. Because when they're out there contributing and scoring like they are a tough team to contain.
Speaking from the Pacer fan perspective, I had zero, and I mean zero faith in this team going into game five. I had zero faith because, again, I felt like personally the series was lost whenever game four happened. When that ending in game four happened, I'm like, now you got to win a game in OKC. And my mentality was the same as yours. If they were going to get one, I would have expected it in game five of the NBA Finals. I would have expected it in game five, win in OKC, and then win game six at home. I thought was the best chance. Now, obviously, the thing with Tyrese, got injured very early in the game. That's kind of what caused the issues. They already said a little bit ago that it's believed to be a strained right calf and will undergo an MRI to determine the severity of it. I will not be shocked if he doesn't play game six. I will not be shocked. I know it's going to be like, we'll see NBA Finals. He's got to go out there. The last time a guy tried to go out and play on a strained right calf, I don't think things ended well for him in the NBA Finals. If you know who I'm talking about, that'd be Mr. Kevin Durant, a guy who kept on getting the strained calf. It wasn't getting any better. And he's like, okay, I think I can come and contribute. 2 quarters in, ruptured Achilles. So for Tyrese's future, I would not be shocked if he doesn't play game six. I know people are like, well, it's the finals. Go all out there. Yeah, go all out there, but you have a career still to play. That setbacks
Yeah.
people. I mean, I still think Kevin Durant's a great player, but I don't think Kevin Durant's been the same since that. I really don't think so. So
I
yeah,
completely agree with you there.
so that was a key point. Thunder were in control. Yeah, Caruso sucked, but you pointed it out. What helped? Aaron Wiggins hit 4 threes. Case and Wallace hit 3 threes off the bench. Guys were scoring off the bench. And Jalen Williams, the thing I loved about this game from Jalen Williams, well, I didn't love it watching, but I saw it, is you talk about today's NBA, you talk about a lot of ISO ball, attacking one on one. This man was doing a lot of stuff off the ball to get these easy opportunities. And that's what I love seeing from him. He's moving off the ball, doing a great job there, getting easy dunks. Man was going aggressive to the rim, which is something I was very impressed with, stepping up in the big moment. But the Pacers still had their chance in this game. TJ McConnell was incredible in that third quarter. TJ McConnell was unbelievable. Uh, as if he already hasn't been unbelievable in these finals and this playoff run. Scored or assisted on 18 points in the third quarter. Pacers had this down to 3 in the fourth, early in the fourth. And then, you get the turnover and then the easy layup and then another turnover and then another easy layup for the Thunder. You keep on doing all that. And then within the blink of an eye, they're up by 13. And it's
Yeah.
just like, man, that's going to be hard to overcome. I don't know if we can do that. But yeah, 7 minutes left. It was a 5 point game. Lou Dort, three, turnover, score by Jalen Williams, turnover, another score for Shea. I mean, that's the thing that I've been impressed with the Thunder because game one, they couldn't stop the fire once the Pacers were starting to crawl back in. Game two, and now game five, they've done an excellent job of that at home, and I give them credit. But no, Jalen Williams was awesome. He's the reason they won that game because him and other guys stepping up. But Jalen was incredible, and the Pacers couldn't stop him. And now, like I said, the Pacers are down 3-2 going home. They've been in this situation before last year against the Knicks, but totally different scenario here when you're playing the best defense in the NBA. You might not have your starting point guard. It's not looking good for the Pacers. I don't know what else to say. It's just not looking good for them. I felt this series was over after game four, personally. Because it reminded me of every NBA finals I've seen where a team's up 2-1 and then they lose game four at home. Then they lose game five on the road, and then the team comes looking to close in game six.
Yeah, agreed. This is a tough spot to be for the Indiana Pacers. Look, the big thing is you're going home. This is your chance to get your footing right. I'm with you. I think from a medical staff standpoint, you can't let Tyrese Halliburton go out there and play game six. I don't know if it's going to be their call. I don't know if it's going to be Rick
Yeah.
Carlisle's call. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Tyrese Halliburton's call, and I just don't take Tyrese Halliburton as the kind of guy who's not going to go out there and play. I'm not saying it's the right decision. I'm not saying it's the best decision. But in game six, I feel like he's going to do whatever he can to get back out there on the court and play. Um, Look, I think for the Pacers, the game plan is simple. You have these last two games slipped away from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander again. You're letting him get in his groove, get comfortable. Now, no assists in game four, like we said, which was kind of a crazy part for him, but 10 assists in game five. Look, you got to get back to what you were doing, defending him the way you have been defending him. If it takes that unorthodox, confusing defensive strategy to do it, then do it. Shea can't have 30 plus points. Shea can't have 10 assists. I think it starts on the defensive end for the Pacers with or without Tyrese Halliburton and commanding a better shot selection. The last two games have been filled with bad shooting and bad shooting late. The Pacers have got to get back to what makes them good. They've got to play their good defense, and they've got to get out in transition, and they've got to run away with this game. To
They
me,
really do.
I think they're
They
going to
really
take
do.
this game. Yeah, I think they're going to take this game six and push it to game seven, and then that's where we'll really see what happens in this series. Um, but I still think it's tough to lose that game five when this should be an opportunity to close out the series, especially now that OKC has the momentum to really push them to 3 wins in a row and close out this series.
Yeah. Again, to me, well, I'll say personally, during game five, going in that fourth quarter, I get Tyrese as a star player, but if he's not 100% and TJ McConnell's out there, I was saying start TJ McConnell this fourth quarter. If it's Rick Carlisle and this is a 2-2 series, I'm looking at who's the better option right now. I'm looking at TJ. I'm like, TJ, you're not coming off the floor in the fourth quarter. I hope you know. And I know that leads to mismatches happening, but Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, he never looked right to me. Even whenever you looked over at the bench, you could see zero emotion on his face. I'm like, man, something is seriously wrong. And they say it's a strained calf, and I think we're going to find out whenever they do the MRI how severe it really is. I bet it's a pretty serious one. Um, so I'm really worried if Tyrese does play for more than just the game reason, obviously, like I hinted at with others. But to beat the Thunder, yeah, number one, defensively, you got to get back. Number two, get into the paint. The Pacers, I don't know how many times I've said this. When the offense gets in the paint, when the guards are able to attack in the paint, you saw with TJ McConnell, good things happen for the Pacer offense. Whether it's shooting the pull up range or getting into the paint, the drive and kick leading to good looks for Neesmith, Obi Toppin, and other guys. Getting into the paint is doing that. But also, you've got fans in the building who last memory is game four. And just a rough finish there and then a rough start here. You have to get off to a good start in game six. Like I'm talking, you need to get up possibly by 10 early in the first quarter just to gain some momentum. Because if the Thunder just keep it close at the end, I'm gonna look at it as this. I'm like the Thunder got them right where they want them. They can close this out with some clutch game length. And yeah, I personally don't know what to expect in game six. I would probably lean Pacers just because it's at home. But like you said, I think their best chance to win was in OKC was game five. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Pacers. But I really don't know what to expect from them and other guys that need to step up. Miles Turner on offense the last couple of games has sucked. Ever since game four, he's really game three. He played great defensively at the end of game three, which earned a little bit of credibility there. But game four and five, he hasn't looked good. And it's led to that discussion on Pacers Twitter, Austin, of, the report that came out before the finals that the Pacers were probably going to extend Miles Turner and go into the luxury tax for the first time ever in franchise history. After these last two games, a bunch of Pacers Twitter saying, is he worth $30 million a year? Or like, is he worth one of those big extensions? And I think it's a fair argument to have, but who's going to be your starting center? That's the big thing there. So I'm kind of curious, what are your thoughts on that with some of the Miles Turner talk after the last two games?
Look, I think Miles Turner's obviously had a rough go of it as of late, but to me, he's been such a centerpiece for this team throughout the whole rebuild, really kind of two rebuilds almost. The mini rebuild with Paul George still there, and then the full-on rebuild after Paul George. But I think ultimately, to me, the best decision is to keep Miles Turner. Look, Miles Turner's never been an offensive force. And I'm not saying you can't go out there and put up nothing every time and be worth it, but he's a defensive presence. He's a guy who makes you pay when you kind of sleep on him a little bit offensively. But I think being a defensive leader and just a leader in general is what Miles Turner does best. And I think it'd be kind of foolish for after this kind of run and this kind of season with Miles Turner for the Pacers to turn their back on that.
I think so. I think that's
Um,
fair. I think that's very fair, especially with an NBA Finals trip. But that's what
Agreed.
Pacers fans were talking about. Like, is it time to have an uncomfortable conversation about this? I want to see what he does in game six and seven, or if game six, if we go to a game seven. Then I'd be willing to argue it depending on what the performance is. But for right now, yeah, I'm 100% with you. But that's a talking point there. But can we just talk about how great this series has been? I mean
Yeah,
the games have all come down to the wire. Me and like I said, I've been watching with my Thunder, my fan who's a fan of the Thunder, David. Every single time in the fourth quarter, we're looking at each other like, all right, another sweat fest we're going to have here because the games have come down to the
yeah,
wire and what's been done in 2 3 minute stretches, whether it's at the end of the game or middle of the fourth quarter.
yeah, and like you said, that's just what it comes down to here. It's just the best basketball. And look, if you thought this was going to be a bad series, shame on you. This has been a great series, great games, great teams going at it. Look, we'll be back with you after this finals wraps up Thursday, 7:30. That's game six. If we go to a game seven, then you probably won't have another episode from us till next Monday. But if this game ends in six, we might record Friday or Saturday.
Yeah,
for our
maybe
final
so. But
recap.
I will say one more thing. Shout out NBA Twitter. We have bullied ESPN into bringing back player introductions. Well done. Well done, NBA
There we
Twitter. It
go.
turns out bullying works whenever you tell them to. Because that was awesome. The player introduction stuff was electric last night for it. Even being a Pacer fan watching the Thunder stuff, I was like, dang, this just got me even more hyped. And that's the kind of stuff we've been missing.
Agreed. The presentation has gone downhill. So yeah, we need stuff like that. But that's going to do it for our NBA Finals talk for now. But keeping it on the subject of the NBA, we had our trade season break open, and in the summer of Kevin Durant, the summer of Giannis potentially, big names that could potentially be on the move. We have our first blockbuster trade, and neither of those guys are involved. Memphis Grizzlies dealing Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first round picks, 1 first round pick swap. That's number 16 this year from the Magic. Then a 2026 first round pick, which includes swap rights with Phoenix or Washington. Those are 2 teams I'd want to be switching with potentially. And 2028 and 2030 first round pick selections. And the pick swap is a top 2 protected 2029 first rounder. And this is a big deal on both ends. This gets a big time 3-and-D wing onto a competitive Orlando Magic squad, bolsters their defense, gives them maybe a little bit more consistency from downtown. Um, Basically, a younger Gary Harris is kind of how I look at it. I know Desmond Bane's quite a bit bigger or more muscular than Gary Harris is. But when they made that deal with the Magic a few years, or with the Nuggets a few years ago, and grabbed themselves Gary Harris, it was kind of the same move. Another 3-and-D, 2 guard, big contributor. Um, but to me, I don't hate the move to get Desmond Bane, but it feels like an egregious amount of draft picks. Uh, to me, I think you could have gotten a lot less, given up a lot less to get Desmond Bane. Um, but I don't know. Memphis gives them away, and from Memphis' perspective, this is to me feels like a no-brainer. You get this kind of offer, and you take it. This many first-round picks, especially when you're talking about next year being able to swap with either Phoenix or Washington, depending on where the pick lands. I don't know how you don't want to do that. Look, Desmond Bane's a great player. He's been great for them. But to me, the big thing is he just signed a massive extension last year, has him at $34 million a year. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s next contract will be a supermax. He's now supermax eligible. John Morant will obviously be demanding a pretty big extension soon. And look, I think last year you signed the extension and you think, with everything that's been going on with John Morant, maybe we won't have John Moran around, or maybe he won't be able to command that big contract and we'll have this money to spend. They now don't. Things have smoothed over with John Morant. The off the court antics have cooled off a little bit. You've got John Morant back. You don't have to worry about all that drama, at least so far. He's going to command that big contract. You got to make room. Getting rid of Desmond Bane was kind of a certainty in the near future for this Memphis Grizzlies team financially. And to me, this gives them a great spot to now get, like we said, a just outside the lottery pick this year, almost guaranteed a lottery pick next year, and put this team back on track to being a competitor if they don't flip that pick next year for a big piece to help this team contribute in the future. But I think this is the right move for Memphis. I like the idea by the Orlando Magic, but to me, it's a little bit of an overpay.
That was my thinking, but I also I look at this from two perspectives. Number one, obviously, like I said, Orlando. I love Desmond Bane's fit down there with Wagner and Paolo Banchero. I think those guys are going to be really good fits together. And the Magic saw this as a hey, listen, the Celtics are going to be down next year. We don't know what the Knicks are. The only one we'll probably have to worry about is the Pacers. This is our year. If we're going to look to cash in on this core, we better try to do it this year. And that's what the move says to me. I think Desmond Bane will work out really well there. But let's say it like it is. 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane. Did not see that coming. But to me, though, this is a sign of the Magic being aggressive and wanting to win. Because over the last couple of years, the Magic have just been slowly building up. Last couple of playoff runs over the couple of years where it's like, man, they're so close to that next level. If only they could just make the moves. If they think Desmond Bane's the right move, then this could be really good and work out really well for them, I think. But the 4 first round picks, 2028, 2030, that's a decent ways away still. You might be shooting yourself in the foot depending on how this Desmond Bane deal works out. All I'm saying is this: you better be a top 4 seed in the East next year with this core. Because if you don't, I think there might be some people in that Orlando executive room that may or may not no longer be in Orlando come next year. Because similar to the deals, whenever they're the big blockbusters, it's a move that could cost your entire franchise its future. Need I go over all the recent trades in NBA history that have failed completely like that? But you point out from the Memphis perspective, getting this deal, they'd be stupid to say no to this deal. Getting offered 4 first round picks, one of them's guaranteed to probably be a top 10 pick for sure next year. Uh, you'd be stupid not to say yes to that. And Cole Anthony's a very good piece in that. I want to be known. Cole Anthony's very good, which also kind of surprised me. But if you're getting rid of that point guard room, you gotta remember how crowded that point guard room has been in Orlando for a bit of time with Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, Anthony Black. You get rid of one of those guys, and now you kind of have Jalen Suggs being the one, probably Anthony Black off the bench, Desmond Bane the two, and then et cetera, with the rest of the roster. With Paolo, Franz Wagner, and then Wendell Carter probably going to be your center. So that's not a bad lineup. That's a very good lineup for Orlando. So, but also for Orlando's perspective, trading Kentavious Caldwell Pope away was a very big move. That might have been the move that cost them the 4 first round picks because Kentavious Caldwell Pope is due over $20 million on his contracts over the next couple of years. And listen, I think KCP is a very solid player. I think he's very good. I don't think he's worth $20 million a year. And that's just something that I think Orlando saw and it's like, listen, Desmond Bane's going to be on that big deal. If we're going to get the option, we might as well get a guy who's probably the better scorer as a whole. And they did that. Now for Memphis, obviously the thoughts are about John Moran, Jaren Jackson. All the people that keep on thinking they're going to blow this up, no, they're not. They're not going to blow this up. They're going to use this the exact opposite way. You have those 4 first round picks. The draft is the cheapest way to build a contender. That is the cheapest way to build a contender. If you get these draft picks right, you will have a contender to build around with Jaren Jackson and John Morant on those guys on that roster. Or when in doubt, if John Morant, Jaren Jackson don't work, you've got those picks to rebuild and reset your franchise up over the next couple of years. So this is a big win for them. I think this is a good deal for Orlando. Like you said, it's probably just a little bit of an overpay, but I think it's something that both sides kind of needed to do, honestly.
Agreed. I like Desmond Bane. Like you said, I was in love with Desmond Bane coming out of the draft. I was a little bit surprised when Memphis kind of felt like they picked him a little bit higher than he was projected to go. But again, he's got that big body, great two-way guy, really great shooter. He's going to contribute a lot. It just feels like 4 first-round picks is a lot. I mean, we're talking about the type of haul that a Kevin Durant or a Giannis might bring in this offseason. Speaking of that, what do you think this is going to do to the trade market? Now if you're Milwaukee, and look, Milwaukee still has not officially said the sale is on, but it's starting to feel that way. I think if the right offer comes through, something might happen. But if you're looking at this as Milwaukee, even if you're looking at this as Phoenix, and you see what you've got, and I don't think Kevin Durant's going to command 7, 8 draft picks like we've seen in some of his past deals. He's getting older. Like you said, he's not really hitting that same ceiling that he had before the Achilles injury. But still, you look at this deal, 4 first-round picks, a talented younger guard, and a pretty solid playoff contributing veteran in KCP. And now you look at what you've got in Kevin Durant, look what you got in Giannis, and you say, well, I think Giannis is better than Desmond Bane. I think Kevin Durant's better than Desmond Bane. I want at least that. Do you think this is going to have that type of effect on the market? Or do you think that teams are going to be willing to pay even more than that? Maybe for a Giannis, I'd say 100%. I'd be willing to give up a similar haul to get my hands on Giannis if I was a competitor. But if you're really talking about the Kevin Durant market here, I feel like as Phoenix, you want to get a similar haul to that, or a little bit better of a haul than that with Kevin Durant. Do you think there's anybody around the league who's willing to pay that much for Kevin Durant?
Well, I'll just answer real quick with the Giannis one. Yes, I think Giannis is worth 6 or 7 first round picks, I think,
Yeah.
honestly. But the Kevin Durant one, it's interesting. So obviously the reports are the teams that are the finalists for Kevin Durant. If it's me personally, if I'm in charge of the deal, I don't think Kevin Durant's worth that. Personally, I don't think he's worth 4 first round. It's nothing against Kevin Durant the person, but let's address it like it is. He's been a decent scorer on mediocre teams the last couple of years. I mean, that's that. I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. That's just a fact. That's just a factual statement there. You got to remember Kevin Durant's also 36. I mean, he's 36 years old. He is very much near the end of his prime. Very much near the end of his prime. Giannis is just about to turn 30, so he's still got a bit of time. But if it's me and the reports I'm hearing about the Spurs is the one that has me concerned because I heard that there are rumors that the Spurs were willing to offer the second overall pick to the Suns for Kevin Durant, which if I'm the Suns, I don't even know why we haven't had the deal done. I would have taken a top 2 pick to get rid of a 36-year-old Kevin Durant when I can get one of the best young college players that we're going to get in this draft because this draft is so much full of college players compared to recent years where it's been a lot of international players. This year, it's been a lot of college players. I mean, obviously, we know how we feel about Walter Clayton Jr., especially for Florida. But to me, I don't see it for Kevin Durant just because, again, I think he's 36, big contract. If Phoenix really wants to get rid of him, and I wouldn't rule out them holding on to him, I wouldn't rule that out because they probably think they can get around there for him. But uh, if Phoenix truly wants to get the deal done, I think they have to dial it back a little bit, just a tad bit. Maybe to 3 first rounders and maybe a second rounder, or 2 first rounders, a couple second rounders, and the players. But the thing with the 4 player deal again for Desmond Bane that I want to say is Contavious Caldwell Pope was part of the reason they had to give up the 4 picks. When you got a player like him who's a great 3-and-D player, who's making 20 million a year on the roster, coming off not a very good year for him, it you're going to have to sacrifice some picks for that. Just like in other trades in recent memory with big names on big contracts, you're going to have to sacrifice some stuff to go with that. So I wouldn't be shocked if someone offered 4 picks for Kevin Durant. But if it was me personally making the move as the GM and someone's like, we want 4 first rounders for Kevin Durant, I had to hang up the phone and be like, you can try again tomorrow.
Yeah. Here's my thing. Final question about the Kevin Durant trade debacle. Do you think that this now? I agree with you. I think Phoenix is going to want this haul. I think they're going to say, we want something like that. We think Kevin Durant's better than Desmond Bane right now. We want something like that. Do you think this hauls up the discussions? Because you alluded to it. Maybe Phoenix holds on and tries to get Kevin Durant to play to this value, tries to show people he's worth this, and they hold on until maybe the trade deadline next year, or maybe throughout the entire next season. Do you think that that's a very realistic possibility, or do you think that there's someone out there who's willing to cave this offseason to give it up just to get a go at Kevin Durant?
The one team that just screams out to me desperation, that would be like, we'll do whatever it takes for Kevin Durant. Although they've kind of backed off in talks recently. I would say it's the New York Knicks. The Knicks would probably look at it because I say it personally, Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns is not going to work, especially with whoever the new coach is coming in there. I think if you flip Karl Anthony Towns in that deal for Durant and you got that lineup, and put Mitchell Robinson at starting center with OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Kevin Durant, and Jalen Brunson, that's a tough starting 5. But
Yeah.
let's face it, like it is for the Knicks. They've already traded away insane amount of draft capital. They have so many big contracts on that roster. Can it really even be functional? It probably could, but again, if I could see the Spurs maybe doing it, but at the same time, Wemby's coming off a very serious injury. I mean, very serious with the injury that happened during the season. To me, if I'm one of these other teams, I'm kind of holding out a little bit, being a little bit more, like, yeah, try again tomorrow and then hang up, come up with a new plan. But if the Knicks look, like I said, the East will probably be pretty wide open next year with the Pacers probably being the top one. After that, it's really wide open after that. But I think if anyone would be able to trade this year or this summer, probably early in the summer, I think a deal will probably happen right around close to the preseason. That's what I truly think will happen. Uh, but if anyone's going to go in and try to make the move like within the next week or before the NBA draft, I would probably say the New York Knicks would be that one because I really don't think the Heat are. The Heat have plenty they can give up, but I don't think the Heat will do it. If I'm the Spurs, no way in the world I'm trading that number 2 pick. I'm trading the other first round picks I got, and I'm not trading Stephon Castle away for him. I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'm trading away Jeremy Shohan. Probably is one of the bigger ones in deal. Jeremy Shohan, one of the first round picks, obviously a couple in the future, and then you go from there. But we'll see what Kevin Durant. I know Shams is being like it could happen any day now. It could happen before the draft. I really don't know if that will actually happen.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if it happened before the draft. I'd say just to err on the side of caution, maybe so we don't get caught off guard. Not that it'll happen, not by any means that it will or won't happen. Um, but Dallas maybe could be in play. I'm just saying. I know it's the number one overall pick. I probably wouldn't give it up for Kevin Durant, but I also wouldn't give up Luka Doncic for nothing and Anthony Davis. And yet we're having that very real conversation. Um, I'm not saying it'd be such a lopsided deal. I actually think the number one value carries quite a bit of weight in this conversation. Sure,
Oh yeah.
maybe I don't want to give up 4 first round picks, but I am giving you number one pick and a great talent that you can get at number one. So maybe you'll take a couple first round picks off the block, and I'll send you Derek Lively, and I'll send you Daniel Gafford, and I'll send you Jaden Hardy, some guys who have had some solid contributions for us, and they can help you fill out your roster. A couple of those guys super young, um, and then you break me a deal here, make it easy for me. I'm not saying it will happen. I don't think there are any talks about it happening. I think more likely Nico Harrison will be smart and hold on to the pick if he'd like to have his job next year. But
If he
it's not
wouldn't
out of
like
the realm
people
of
to storm up to his house
yeah,
with
no kidding.
pitchforks and torches, he will keep that number 1 pick.
But I'm just saying he wants to build a team that can win now, try and capitalize on these players before their careers are over, and Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. Get another guy who's maybe in that same kind of situation, has that same sense of urgency in Kevin Durant, and see what happens. I know Kyrie and KD didn't work out before, but again, we're not talking with a man that deals with much reason. Um, so finally, let's take it into our last section here, college football 26. Look, last week we got it down to our top 5 teams left, and this week we got to go from 5 to 3 as we build up closer and closer to the release of college football 26. Oh, this is a tough one to do.
Well, why don't we recap it for the people
Yeah,
that weren't here last week? Austin, give us your top 5.
in no particular order, I've got Delaware, Arkansas State, Purdue, Akron, and UTEP. Um, some real interesting ones in there. Let's hear a recap of yours.
Yeah, also in no particular order, Purdue, Hawaii, UMass, Temple, and Missouri State. So those are some other good options in there as well. But yeah, we're going to cut this down to 3. We're getting closer. Although, can I just say though, for a game that's coming out in the early access is July 7th. So we're getting pretty close. We have learned absolutely nothing about this game besides the reveal trailer, which has me very surprised how they come out with nothing for an entire week.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. But hopefully that means that they're got something in the works. Look, obviously they haven't postponed the game or anything, fortunately.
No,
So
they better not. They better not.
yeah, just a matter of keeping us on the edge of our seats. But Look, let's start out. We made our list a little bit easier, our eliminations a little bit easier after we talked after our last episode. And we decided we're going to do another Bold Take podcast, Online Dynasty. And so we decided for that one, I would be Delaware, he would be Missouri State. That would cut Missouri State and Delaware out of our list, make it a little bit easier for us. So Delaware and Missouri State falling off both of our lists here, dropping us down to 4 teams. Um, so now the Bold Take Dynasty has been settled, but our first dynasty has not been settled. Um, so without further ado, give us your top three. Tell us who you're sending home.
So my first official lock for the top three is the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I think Hawaii is a lock for my top three. I think I knew they were a lock for my top three whenever I created my top 10. I felt very confident on them. The next one that I decided on for my next lock is the Temple Owls. That one mainly because I think personally that the number one, I think the new coaching staff coming in, it's a whole new fresh start that'll work out good for you. Plus, they have so many fun uniform combinations, and you get to play in the Eagles Stadium. I think that counts as a plus. So whenever you're really good and you're able to fill that thing out, it's awesome. So that leaves two, Purdue or UMass. Two really solid options for the game. As I said last week, UMass has not had a winning record in a long time. I said 1901 last week. And for the people on TikTok that were confused, that was with their FBS appearances since they were in FBS, which was actually 1904. I was wrong. I apologize for that. But that was their FBS presence. Yes, I am aware FCS, they were very good for a long time in FCS. But there's a big difference between FCS and FBS. There's a major difference there. So I think that's there. And then you got Purdue, who was historically one of the worst teams, one of the worst Power Four teams in all college football history last year. I mean, they were just not a good football program. They haven't been a good football program the last couple of years. And man, it leaves you with a really tough spot here. But at the end of the day, my third and final lock for my top three in my college football 26 rebuild will be the Purdue Boilermakers making the top three
Oh.
there, which means the UMass Minutemen. Listen, it's nothing against y'all. It's like we talked about. We got to cut these lists down. It's unfortunate. Uh I have a feeling a lot of people will be doing UMass rebuilds though, so there's no way to worry about that. But my top three, you got Hawaii, Temple, and Purdue. Three very fun options. Three very fun options. It's going to be tough to choose one out of those. But let's hear yours, Austin.
Oh, starting my first lock, probably the easiest pick. Like you, probably a team I saw making it this far when I made this list. I'm going to start with the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Go Red Wolves. So had to be a team that I put in there. Hits close to home. Needed to be one that gets locked in here. Then my second lock team, I've got the Akron Zips. Look, Maction, ride or die. This is a team that needed to be put in here. And this left me with the two teams that I'm kind of
Hmm. Hey, Austin, I don't know what just happened, but I've not heard a single word you've said.
really. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I don't know what
Okay.
happened, but like as soon as you said the first team that was a lock, or right before you said I'm down to these two teams, you were talking and I did not hear anything. So if you could repeat that you said, I would appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. So we got my first two locks, right?
Yes, we got
Okay.
them, but we might as well say them again just for the people, just in case.
Yes, just in case we've missed any audio. My number one lock, Arkansas State Red Wolves.
Yeah,
Number two lock, Akron Zips, go
yep,
Maction. That leaves me with two teams. Purdue, like we said, one of the worst Power Four teams over the last few years. Easily the worst Power Four team last year. It's going to be a completely new rebuild. As far as Power Four goes, it's probably going to be the toughest rebuild you do. You're going to have to basically start from the ground up. And so there's a lot of challenge and a lot of fun being in the Big Ten, one of two big, super powerful super conferences here. And then UTEP. Um, and so there's a tough choice between the two, really. With UTEP, the uniforms are fun, but I'm more just tied to a player at UTEP with Malachi Nelson. That was my big motivation getting to this team. But when I really kind of look at both of these teams and I weigh the pros and cons, to me, the decision is clear. Uh, as fun and as challenging as the rebuild I think might be, I think it's a little too high profile for me to start. So I'm going to cut the Purdue Boilermakers here. Power four, I don't want to start in the power four. I want to start outside the power four and build my way up. So I'm going to keep UTEP and we're going to cut out the Purdue Boilermakers to leave me with Arkansas State, Akron, and UTEP.
There we go. You got our top three, ladies and gentlemen. So you got to let us know, which one do you think our winner will be? I guess we're going to plan to announce it maybe after the NBA Finals next time we record.
Yeah, probably next time we record, after we've talked about the NBA Finals, we'll drop this down to one final team who will get represented by us in our first college football 26 dynasty. Let us know. Look, we're big talk about the online dynasty for the Bold Take podcast. Let us know if you'd like to know more about that, hear more about that. Maybe we can find a way to incorporate that
Yeah.
in, especially
Why
during
not?
this
Let's
summertime.
get a 32-man dynasty going here. Come on.
So it's going to be big. Look, I'm ready for the game, obviously. But look, NBA Finals wrapping up this week. The NBA trade season stirring up a little bit early. We've got trades boiling over. Some people might be trying to get it done before the NBA draft. I can see that. That's where your picks right now are most valuable, right here before the NBA draft. So we'll see what happens. We got a lot of great stuff at the NBA, a lot of great stuff coming with college football 26. But that's going to do it for us here at the Bold Take Podcast. That's Austin Wader. I'm Austin Hill, and we want to thank you for listening.